Welcome back to Xbox Corner, my name's Luke, and today on the channel we're going to be taking a look at 2 Point Campus, the latest game in the 2 Point series from 2 Point Studios and Sega, which drops the hospital theme and instead sees you managing a university campus, responsible for not only its design and construction, but also the happiness and well-being of its staff and students, and ultimately the success and failure of it all. Now this one has quite a lot going on, but I'm going to try and keep things high level and concise and detailed as possible. So drop us a like and a sub if you enjoy our content and are looking for more deals, reviews and Xbox Game Pass coverage, and let's get into it. So the story with this one then, and like the previous 2 Point title and its spiritual predecessors, the games are not known for having any real kind of plotline to follow, but in this one you're brought in to rescue a struggling campus and basically work your way up to manage bigger and more prestigious universities. But the developers do a decent job of expanding on the world of 2 Point, embellishing and enhancing its lore through little introductory cutscenes of each campus which fill you in with a little bit of history on the location. You have a few characters which act as your guides and sometimes rivals in levels, and as you play through the game you also get a bunch of fun little advertisements and skits which come across on the campus radio and prove to be highly entertaining. Other than these elements, you do have a few different events and rival universities to compete with, and altogether this helps to paint a picture of the world in which you exist, but generally this one's pretty light on the story elements, and it's almost entirely focused around the gameplay. So if you played 2 Point Hospital, 2 Point Campus follows much the same suit when it comes to the basic premise of the gameplay, and indeed if you've played that game you should have no problem picking things up with this one right away. The game comes with 2 game modes though, the first being a kind of story-driven campaign mode, which as I've said sees you attempting to rescue struggling campuses and turn them into godly universities with A-grade students, and the second a sandbox mode which was initially absent on the release of 2 Point Hospital, but thankfully is available right from the get-go in Campus. The campaign mode though offers more of a structured playthrough of the game's 12 campus types, each of which have their own unique theme, ranging from campuses that specialise in semi-standard science and robotic syllabuses, to the more wacky end of the spectrum offering night training and magic degrees, but it's all good fun with the expected dose of silliness that you've come to expect from the 2 Point franchise. Each campus though comes with its own set of rules and challenges for you to contend with, and the game does a good job of introducing things bit by bit as to not overwhelm you with mechanics, but there is a surprising amount of depth to these with countless stat menus available for those looking to really min-max the campus and become a 2 Point pro. If however you're just looking for a casual play, you needn't really trouble yourself with most of these menus and just crack on with designing and running your campus, as the game does keep things pretty simple when it comes to the core gameplay dynamics. In each campaign level though, you're given a set of objectives to fulfill in order to receive 1, 2 and 3 star ratings for it, and you only actually need to obtain 1 star to unlock the next campus. These usually include things like achieving a certain number of student pass marks, increasing your campus hygiene and attractiveness ratings or overall campus level, as well as some more level specific criteria based on its theme. To start with though, you'll usually begin a level with a single plot and a couple of empty buildings, and prior to beginning your first year, you'll need to get the basics built, which include lecture theatres and classrooms specific to the courses you're running, as well as basic amenities such as a student dormitory, toilets, staff rooms and a library for students to study in. You're given a budget for the year which runs from August to July, with students paying monthly fees for the tutoring, but if you run out of cash like I frequently did, you can always dip into loans, so money isn't too much of an issue in the game. Now, the building mechanics are all really well put together, and the interfaces are really simple to use, with you first plotting out a foundation for your room before filling it with the necessary equipment as well as any extras which can sometimes improve its functionality, and to save time on future builds you can also save blueprints of rooms. Once your rooms are sorted though, you've then got to employ the staff members to run the place, and these come in 3 different flavours. You have your teachers, which specialise in teaching certain courses, provide private tutoring and can also run your research labs. Janitors, which keep things clean, water your plants, perform repairs and upgrades and eject invaders from your campus. And finally the assistants, who run things like the libraries, student union and snack shops. And each of these are paid wages depending on the skill sets, but they can also gain additional skills through training. Now, the success of your students not only comes down to the facilities and staff, but also a whole host of other factors which affect the happiness and well-being of them. And let me tell you now, these students are a needy bunch who will regularly request new features to be implemented. From objects to complete assignments, radiators to keep them warm, food and drink stalls, monthly events and love art beds for budding relationships, all of these things affect their overall temperament and in turn grades, and aside from the building and staff management, keeping up with their requirements forms part of the main gameplay loop in 2 Point Campus. Now, aside from the things I've mentioned, there are also a bunch of other mechanics which help to flesh out the whole experience and keep things interesting, including researching new facilities and upgrading existing ones, plenty of random events to keep you on your toes, and some progressional incentives which see you earning kudos currency to unlock even more decorative and functional objects to plaster about your campus. But all of these things just work really well together to form a cohesive whole, with a solid gameplay loop and some deep and rewarding mechanics for you to master. I will say that from one course to the next, I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of difference beyond the visual themes, the amount you could earn from them and course difficulty, but the courses themselves are not really the focus of the game, and it's more about giving players the creative freedom that comes with a sandbox world and then challenging the management skills. Now, one other minor gripe I had was that although you have all the stats summaries for you to dig into and they give you an overview of how things are going, they don't really divulge where issues lie or how to improve certain stats. And while you might think this would be pretty logical, for example sticking down a bunch of flowers to improve the environmental attractiveness of your campus, this doesn't always work, as the problem may lie with a particular room and not the corridors or exterior of your campus. Overall though, there's really very little that I can actually criticise about the game. I really liked the variety of the campaign's themes, the general gameplay loop was fun and I enjoyed the challenges each new campus presented, and while things do start off pretty simple, the introduction of new mechanics keep things interesting and ensure they don't become stale. Now, to touch on the game's sandbox mode, it's exactly that, an open structured playground which allows you to tailor every aspect of the game to your liking. You can select from any of the 12 campuses, choose a rule set to play with which include standard and challenge presets, a creative mode where money isn't an issue, or even create a custom rule set, adjusting everything from your starting cash and kudos to what buildings and upgrades are available, and the types of events and objectives you'll face, and then you can just crack on at your own pace for as long as you like. I think the only thing missing from this mode is some sort of leaderboard system for players to compete in, but it's perfect for dipping in and out of, and there are also plenty of achievements in the game to keep you coming back for more. All in all though, I really did have a good time with this one, and it really took me back to the classic days of Theme Hospital, but with some very welcome quality of life improvements. It keeps things familiar whilst putting an interesting new spin on the genre with the diversity of its campus themes, and if you enjoyed the previous title or are a fan of management sims in general, you'll no doubt enjoy this one. So the visual style of 2 Point Campus is pretty much identical to the previous game, which forgoes the realism to provide a more cartoony aesthetic to the characters and environments, and while it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, I personally thought it worked really well to present distinct appearance differences between the students and staff members, as well as making each room type instantly recognisable, which really helps when things get hectic and your campus gets larger. The animations are all pretty well done, with everything kept very child friendly, shall we say, including the ejection of intruders, and I particularly enjoyed the room designs with giant pies, cauldrons and a giant brain used to train up your staff. And so far as performance goes, I was playing on the Series X and didn't really notice any real frame rate issues, but when fully zoomed out things did seem slightly jittery when panning across large busy campuses. Overall though, it performs well with some nice aesthetics and plenty of visual variety. So sound wise then, as you'd expect, everything is kept upbeat and cheery with some comical sound effects and nice ambience filling the environments, and the game's music is also quite chill with some enjoyable acoustic tracks and a few more funky sounding ones to play along to. But my favourite aspect of the audio has to be the tannoy announcements and campus radio, which features some amusing advertisements, similar to the ones found in GTA, though of course a little bit more PG, and I felt like these added a little extra humour to the game. All in all though, decent stuff. So the final verdict then, and this one is one that you can spend hours with, dipping in and out of sandbox mode, but I feel that the career mode definitely gives it some much needed structure and really allows you to experience everything the game has to offer in bite-sized chunks. If you played 2 Point Hospital though, you'll definitely find a lot of similarities when it comes to the basic gameplay mechanics. However, the fact that your students remain on campus for several years means that you end up feeling a little more invested in them, as opposed to the in-out nature of the patient treatment in 2 Point Hospital, and your campus definitely feels more like something you can call home after you've put hours into designing and improving it. Overall though, it's a really well put together management sim with plenty of depth to its mechanics, and a great one to play either casually or hours at a time, and from me it gets a strong 8 out of 10 for a rating. While the classic theme hospital game will always hold a place dear in my heart, the 2 Point titles have definitely embraced the essence of these games, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what new ideas the developers come up with in future. With that said though, the game is due to release on the 9th of August, and it's also coming day one to Game Pass, so are you a fan of these titles, and will you be picking up 2 Point Campus and giving it a play? Let us know down in the comments section below. While you're at it, why not drop us a like if you enjoyed this review, and if you're looking for more reviews as well as weekly deals, Game Pass roundups, graphical comparisons and more, be sure to subscribe to the channel. For now though, thanks once again for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks everyone, take care.